Welcome, welcome. This is our first time having a conversation on a platform I want to title Peace Over Pieces. And peace being P-E-A-C-E, over pieces, P-I-E-C-E-S. And I can't wait to get into just not only your piece and what that means and how that's going to bless our conversation, and also talk about love today. And so we're going to start off with the topic with the shirt that you're wearing. It says, "Love is dope."
Because it is?
Yes. And we're just going to dive right in. So my first just conversation question to you is, what is love is dope to you?
You know, it's funny. I made a post yesterday that said, you are love. Never give up on love. Never give up on yourself. So for me, because I recognize the power of love, not as something that is external necessarily. I think when we think about love, we think about it from the external coming to us. And that's a part of it. But for me, I look at it like it is, it's like having your favorite food just at the right time and it just hit in the right spot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the smell of an amazing fragrance that just touches every sensual organ that you have. It is all encompassing, and it hits on all the right notes. Like in making fragrance, there's the base, there is the middle, and there is the top note. And so for me, love is dope is like encapsulating and incorporating all of those notes, all of those textures, all of those tones to make something that just hit just right. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
But it starts within you. And then you really extend that externally.
I love that. I feel like you give that to the world naturally, right? That love must be within you in order for you to give it out.
Yes.
You know, so I feel like you have a synergy, energy, however you want to title it, that it exudes love. It exudes gifting love. And talking to you about your definition of love, it reminds me that love is such a gift. That
That's
we
beautiful.
all have, right? That we all have the ability to give if we don't have things hindering our love.
That's key, though.
That is key.
You know, because like so many people, including myself at some point, right? Because that's why I like your from piece to, from pieces to piece. So, you know what I mean? Like that play on words, because that is one of the things that blocks those natural pathways. Because Aaliyah said it best, at your best, you are love.
Yes.
But so many times we're not operating at our best because maybe we've encountered something that was not love, that masqueraded as love. And we internalized that brokenness as our own. And so we became broken, or so we thought. Do you know what I mean?
From this counterfeit love. Because that exists too.
It does.
Yeah, you know. So tell me a little more about how love plays a part in your entrepreneurship, in your business. I'm thinking you need love to execute the thing you do, which is make tea, legacy build. It has to be grounded in love. Tell me a little bit about that.
And it does, and it is. And it is. And for me, I always say God is love. Right? Because, you hear God is love. But when I think God, I generally, like growing up, I think about that as an external masculine entity versus me.
That you could be love.
That I can be love. That I am love. That I am worthy of love. You know what I mean? And so there's something magical and powerful that is within me that is divine. That I have the opportunity to give to someone else because I have it. And if I have it, that means I can share it.
who's the first person that gifted you that love, that magic, or that made you self-aware that you even possessed it within?
My mom. And I always tell her, like, the biggest gift that she gave me was the ability to explore the freedom. That's what it is. The freedom to explore my creativity. So, like, as a kid, like, my imagination is huge, right? And so I can envision pretty much, I can go to all sorts of magical places, right? And I'm there. And she allowed that. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it wasn't like, oh, snap out of it. Don't be that way. No. Because, because that gave me, first of all, the levels of neuroplasticity that creates in the brain. Because, because neuroplasticity is basically like, I've been walking down this street for however long. Neuroplasticity says, I'm going to walk down this street now. I'm literally going to take a different path. But so often we've been programmed and conditioned to take the same course over and over, regardless of the outcome, regardless of what we already know that exists on that path. We continue down the same path in insanity, right? Not recognizing that neuroplasticity is the ability to just change your mind. And I mean that on a multi-dimensional level. To truly be able to change your mind. And so that was just such an amazing gift that she gave me, because it gave me the freedom to learn how to create. And so, yes, that goes into everything that I do. Yeah. And that is love for me.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I love how you use metaphors. I love how you love in even your body language. We were talking earlier and I asked, did you play an instrument? And when you speak, your gestures emit love because you're conversing through your conversation with your hands. And so when I'm speaking to you, if I had no eyes to see, I can feel your love. But if I had no ears to hear, I can see your love.
Oh, don't make me cry. Everybody. Don't be making me cry in here.
That's not everybody. You know what I mean? So how God intricately made you to love is beautiful. And I think he does that to each and every one of us, right? We all are different beings and he created us different and gifted us different. But I think we all encompass love if it's not, a barrier around it. And even then, there's ability to reset and heal. Yeah. And we could reset at any moment. Like I could reset in 5 minutes. As many times. There's no rules. But I think society has made us believe that we have to always do what we always done.
Yes. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because, one of the things that I've had to do is be more intentional with my interactions and what I allow myself to experience. Because once I realized that, no, I am the creator of my experience. And so there are certain experiences that I no longer want in my reality. That's good. And so if I choose to experience life where men and women actually love each other, actually get along, we actually create beautiful families together and make magic together. Do you know what I mean? Yes. If that's the reality I want to experience, that's the reality I'm going to create. And so that means not engaging in people who are stuck in a reality where that's not the reality. Because I choose the power of free will. I choose. You know what I mean? Yeah. I get to choose the reality, and the reality that I choose to walk in those neural pathways in my mind, that allows it to magnetically attract what I am. And so if that's the love that I choose to put out, then of course that's the love I'm going to receive. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I purposely don't engage in the so-called war of the sexes and all of that kind of stuff, because I choose to no longer fight what I love.
That's a word. No longer fight what I love.
Yeah.
I think we all need to write that down. No longer fight what you love. Because I think at some point in any one of our lives, we could be fighting against the grain, fighting against the love. But what I hear is you're so self-aware, and I feel like self-awareness is a skill. that we learn to, it's like a muscle. You have to keep working, and not everybody is self-aware. So how do you keep your self-awareness muscle? You talked about knowing what you don't want, but it had to be a scenario that created that moment where you said, I know what I don't want, and I know what I do want, and this is the boundary.
Ooh, baby, how much time we got?
Woo! You gave me the short answer.
So the short answer is I found myself in situations where I was getting the same result, and the result wasn't the result that I intended. And I had to, rather than, and let me back up because I want to be clear. Yes, I absolutely blamed the other person. Absolutely, because it's human nature, right? I absolutely blamed the other person and saw fault in everything they did wrong and all this kind of stuff, until I said, you do understand the common denominator is still you, right? Like if you have experienced this situation more than once, girl, the common denominator is you. So at some point you have to look in the mirror and look at you. And it was at that point that the light went off for me. And I said, okay, as ugly as it may get, as dark as it may get, as dark as it may seem, I will get down in the trenches because I know that at the core, I'm just going to see myself. You know, it may be like ghosts, goons, goblins, all kind of stuff. But at the end of it all, it's all me. Every single reflection is all me. Every single one of them. It's all me.
And you were comfortable at some point with taking a look at you, that man in the mirror. I mean, Michael Jackson said it best.
Right?
You know, if you want to make a world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change.
Absolutely. He spoke nothing but facts. Nothing but facts. And so there were times that I looked, and the thing is that I saw, girl, because I saw all of the things that I looked at this person and I blamed them. The only reason I see in them is because it's also in me. Reflections. It's reflections. Like you're mirroring to me what I am. And I don't like what I see in me. That's why I don't like it in you. So the only way that that's going to be different is I am. So when I say the great I am, I mean I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No longer am I externalizing the great I am because I am. You understand? And so, and what I mean when I say that is so often we want to put this energy, this power outside of ourselves so that we don't have to take responsibility for ourselves. Because so long as someone else is paying for your sins, you don't have to. So long as someone else is accepting the responsibility for all the things that you don't want to face, you don't have to face them. But when you are able to look in the mirror and realize that you are all the evils and all the divine, all in you, and you take that and you're able to harmonize that within yourself, you actually find love. Because it's the beauty in creation. Because the same way I always go back to, I be gardening and creating and all sorts of stuff. What it reminds me of is when they need to clear the crops, and I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing, it just is what it is. They burn everything down, right? Burn it all down and start over, right? And so sometimes we, the things for me that I saw, like there's so many things that I've experienced in life that made me feel broken, broken. And I had to learn how to put myself back together again. Do you know what I mean? Because I knew that I couldn't stay broken.
I like that you talk about putting yourself back together again, because we talked about pieces.
Yeah.
So pulling those pieces back together, you're saying you solely did it, or did you seek therapy to help you to master that, or journey through that, or self-help books? What were the things? I think a lot of times I like to give our listeners the how-to, because I hear you, but it's somebody that needs that survival guide, somebody that love is being blocked and they need it, and somebody hearing your how-to, it may manifest and pivot them to be broken out of the jail that they're in and free to love.
Let me say something. We would have to schedule another time. No, but I'm going to answer your question. But we would have to schedule another time to really go into the depths. Because When I say that it goes deep, that's what I mean. Because one of the things that I learned in all of that was the power of my sexual energy. I learned on this journey that I am a portal. We all are. We have orifices, things that receive. Our ears, our eyes, our nose, our vagina, they all receive. And as a woman, we have the ability to not only receive, but to create and to birth things into reality. That can be anything. Yeah. That can be a baby. That can be insecurities. That can be brokenness. That can be pain. That can be all of the things that are in you and all the things that man is putting, that is seeding in you. You birth something into the reality. And so many of us are walking around here with mental health issues and all of these things because we are not guarding our gates. Yeah. Right? Eyes, nose, ears, like you said. We have open borders, if you may. We have open borders and we allow anything into our government, into our country, into our universe, our yoniverse. Right? This is why I make yoni tea. Right? Because it's so important. Because I didn't grow up knowing. I didn't know that until I knew that. Because I was like, well, why is my pH balance off after I have sex? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And the pH is the potential of hydrogen. It's this potential energy, right? That's being thrown off because maybe that person's energy is not a match with your energy and is throwing your energy off. And that is being seeded into your receiver, right? You're receiving that. And then that information is transmitted somehow because energy doesn't die. It doesn't die, right? Something happens to it. And so what I learned is to really consciously create, right? And so that is not only loving myself well, but loving my man so well. Because, baby, what goes in here is going to be good. You understand? Yeah. And so sometimes we don't pay attention to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then we want to blame. You know what I mean?
I love that you that prefaces my second and last question. I know we don't have so much time, but this has been great. Some great questions, some great feedback.
I'm so grateful.
Yes,
Thank you.
And I want to talk about, we talk about love, and we talk about brokenness, and we talk about self-awareness, but let's talk about self-love. And what does that look like for you?
Yeah.
And I just wanted you to finish a blank of a sentence. Okay. Self-love is, and fill in the blank for me.
So fucking powerful. Self-love is so powerful because it truly is power on full, right? Because sometimes because the truth be told, if you're not loving yourself, what are you doing? What are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so society, specifically for women, society wants women to love everybody else, right? To cater to everybody else. Superwoman. But now you're left with the pieces. Instead of operating from a place of wholeness, you're left with pieces to put yourself back together again.
That's a lot of work. It could be exhausting.
Girl.
It could be exhausting.
Yes. Girl, yeah. And until we learn to start from wholeness. Right?
Yeah, we usually start from broken and build.
But you're building from brokenness. So what are you building?
A staggered house.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then when we look at our homes and we look at our families and we look at ourselves and our mental health and our relationships, they all mirror the fact that they were built from a broken foundation. Do you know what I'm saying? And so sometimes, and this is one of the things that I learned truly, is the value of being alone. Being alone. Because in all, I can't blame anybody.
Alone meaning not being in a relationship.
And actually be alone.
Okay.
Living alone, being alone, alone.
Because I hear some people can be married and feel alone, right? Or
That's different.
Lonely. Lonely and alone is two different things. You're referencing alone. Okay.
I'm referencing alone. Because, and generally I'm a very, very social person. but now I've transitioned to this phase in my life where I've grown to appreciate the aloneness, because I realize how much growth is there.
Happens in those moments.
So much.
Wow.
Yes. Because again, you think about like the seeds, like seeds grow in the darkness. They grow in the darkness. Nobody sees what's happening underneath. You just know that something's happening, and then it pops up out of the soil. Right. And in the very same way. And so now I've grown to not be angry at the darkness, right? To not look at it and fear it,
but understand it.
But to understand, no, to understand it, right? To take it to a different place, so that truly I can find. But that's for me. That's how I found the light or the divine within myself, is in that darkness that I was afraid to look at for so long, because I thought that the wholeness was going to come from outside of me. It was going to come by way of a man. It was going to come by way of children. It was going to come by way of money. It was going to come by way of things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I embraced me, truly, in all facets. And that's something I know that can be very, very scary.
Yeah.
You know, because there's no one to blame there.
No, it's just you.
It's just you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's you and your accountability.
Yes.
And that's not always easy.
Yes, exactly.
But it's necessary.
Yes. And so that's why I'm so grateful that you're doing this, because we need to be able to have these conversations to truly get to a place of wholeness and healing and actual self-love. Yes, get your nails done, all these things, all the things, but get your soul right.
Yeah.
You know, that matters. So love is dope and love is beautiful, and it's so, so powerful.
Thank you so much for taking this time to talk to me about love. And I like that you said it's a powerful thing. And one of my sayings, aside from love is dope, is that self-love is a hell of a drug.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going to end it there and just remind the people that self-love is a hell of a drug. And like this greatness said beside me, this queen, this majestic soul is saying that love is dope for her reasons. Why is love dope for you?